Good morning, student. I welcome you to the class, and I wish you a very happy new year. And I'm going to continue the same poem, The Legend of the Northland. So I will be telling you all the important point once we will be discussing it once again. So this is written by Phoebe Carey, and she was an American poet born on September 4, 1824 and died on July 31, 1871. Now children, two sisters were there and they used to write the poem together. So both were very famous, and Phoebe died, she died of hepatitis B and she was buried in New York. After the death of both the sisters, a joint anthology of their poem were also completed. So children, I also told you about the message of the poem that we never have to be selfish. We have to help the needy person. When anybody is there in need, we have to help them. Okay, so the central idea and the message of the poem is that we should not be selfish and always help the needy. A selfish person has no satisfaction in life. If a person is selfish, he or she will not have any satisfaction in life. Well children, this poem is about a Northland. The poetess thought that she should write a poem, though she knew this is not a authentic poem, but since she admired, she liked the theme that we should never be selfish, we should do the best. Okay, this was the theme of the poem. We should always help the needy person whenever he or she is there in need. That's all. So children, the theme of the poem is that the Northland is a very cold region. Okay, and where the nights are long and the days are short. The nights are so long that the people are tired of sleeping. They could not sleep for so many days, and every time children there is a snowfall, the whole area is covered with snow, and very few hours of sunlight these people they see. So the poetess has written that here the hours of the day are few and nights are long. In the beginning of the poem also, the poem people are unable to spend the whole night. They wake up several times, then they sleep again. So in this way the people pass their night. The poetess doesn't believe in the authenticity of the story, and she is tempted to share the story. As I told you why that she is tempted to share the story, because she liked the message of the poem. That's why children, so many children people are there, like here children, Saint Peter is being discussed here. So let me tell you first of all, revise with you that who is Saint Peter. Saint Peter is a person who is the messenger of a god, and he preached the people on the earth, especially children. I think you also know that Santa Claus is also from Northland. He's from Lapland, Finland. Okay, so there's a Santa village also, and whenever you will get a chance to go, you try to go. It is near Finland only, and this Saint Peter, he pleased the people of the snow-covered area. Snow-covered area, that is in Lapland, Finland. This is the coldest region near the North Pole. So children, here once Saint Peter was on his usual round of preaching. Okay, so once again let me tell you children, the Northland is a cold region. There the nights are longer as compared to days in winter. Once Saint Peter stopped at an old lady's cottage because he was feeling very hungry. He went there for preaching, and he stopped near an old lady cottage. Now that lady, she used to bake the cake and sell it. So he was not knowing, but he was feeling very hungry, so he stopped by that small cottage which was very cozy, which was very comfortable. The lady was baking cake on the hearth. When St. Peter asked for one of the cakes, she tried to make a tiny cake for him. But when she baked it, she found it too large to give it to him, because she found that if she will sell that cake, she will get a lot of money. So she did not like to give that cake to him. Well, she tried to bake 2 or more cakes once again, but even the smallest of the cake seemed too large to her. Such greedy behavior of the lady annoyed the hungry saint. Finally, children, he started waited, and finally, children, he was too tired of waiting. Then he told that lady, see, I am feeling so tired, and she again told him to give her some time to bake the cake. Now she took a very small piece of dough, and she will make a very small cake. In fact, children, it was a wafer, very thin and small cake. But when she made it again, children, after the cake was done, she found it too big to be given to Saint Peter. Um, Children, she made a wafer for Saint Peter, but then, children, when it was the time for giving to Saint Peter, she was too greedy to part with it. She did not give that wafer also to the saint. Now, children, saint was very much hungry. He started feeling dizzy. Okay, and then finally, children, he observed her greed also. Saint Peter became very angry. He became very angry at her. He said that she was too selfish to dwell in human form. Dwell means to live, to dwell in a human form. And he cursed her to become a bird and live searching for scanty food in the jungle by digging all dry and hard wood. So, children, he cursed and she became a woodpecker. After St. Peter curses, the little woman went up through the chimney and turned into a woodpecker. So, children, she turned into a woodpecker. She went through the chimney up to the sky. She flew to the sky. And when she was flying through the chimney, children, her whole body was turned to coal black because of going up through the chimney. Her red cape turned to the red scarlet of the woodpecker. After that, people see her in the forest where she lives by boring the dry wood in search of food. So all her clothes except her scarlet cap were gone as she went up the chimney and flew out of the top. Every schoolboy is said to have seen her in the forest boring into the wood for food. And now throughout her life she would be digging that. So, children, this is all the main points I have revised you with the lesson, and we have done almost half of the poem. Okay, and we were doing this paragraph. We were doing, children, paragraph 9. We were there on stanza 9. Yes, so, children, when I told here, now, children, in paragraph 9, children, it is Saint Peter who is feeling very hungry and he's asking for the cake. So what he is telling, she took a tiny scrap of dough. Okay, so few word meaning I will be writing. No, I was here on page this. We were doing, children, page number stanza number we were 6. So Saint Peter here is feeling very hungry, and I'm going to read stanza 6. And being faint with fasting, for the day was almost done, he asked her from her store of cake to give him a single one. Now, children, faint. To faint here means to feel weak or to become unconscious. Okay, so he was almost fainting. He was started feeling dizzy, for the day was almost done. Okay, children, the day was almost done. That means day was nearly finished. Day was almost done means day was nearly finished. That means it was the end of the day. Day was nearly finished. That means children, it was the end of the day, and whole day he was on fasting. So at the end of the day he was feeling very tired, and he was feeling very hungry. He started feeling dizziness and almost he fainted. He asked her from his store of cake to give him a single one. And children, what he did, he asked that little woman that to give from her store of cake, to give her a piece of cake. Let's see what she has said. We are now in stanza 7. So she made a very little piece of cake. Well, she did not deny him, she did not refuse him. She told okay. And when she saw her cake, all the cake she seemed is very large in size. So she started baking a very small cake. But as it baking lay, she looked at it and thought it seemed too large to give away. Okay. Lay means children here to put down. Okay. So here in this stanza, lay means to put down. Okay. So when she put down the cake on the hearth for baking, it appears to her that the cake is very large. So she did not want to give him. Too large to give away. That cake appears to be very large and she did not want to give him. Stanza 8. Therefore, she kneaded another. Knead means to make a mixture. To make a your mother, what she do while making chapatis, what she do? She knead the flour. What is the meaning of flour? She mix it with water and then she knead it with her hand. That is the meaning of knead. K-N-E-A-D. Here K is silent. Okay, it is pronounced as knead. Therefore, she kneaded another and still a smaller one, but it looked when she turned it over as large as the first one had done. So children, she baked another cake, and when it was time to give away the cake, she again felt that it is that cake seems too large to her to give her away. Then she took a tiny scrap of dough. Okay, scrap is a small piece. Then children, then again she thought to this cake, it seems to be too large to give it to her. Then children, what she had done, she again had taken a small scrap. So what is the meaning of scrap? Small pieces. So children, she took a small scrap of dough and again she kneaded it. Okay. For she said my cake. Then she took a tiny scrap of dough and rolled it flat. She started rolling it flat like a wafer and baked it thin as wafer. Okay. It was very thin. That cake was very thin like wafer. But she could not part with that. Part means to give. Here parted means to give it. So again children, what she felt that it is, though it was very thin, it was a wafer, but again she felt it was a part which she could not give it to him. She felt that cake is too large and she did not want to give it to him. So children, you can see how greed is overcoming her and she did not want to part with the cake. Well, now let's see what she did. Stanza 10. For she said, my cake that seems too small when I eat of them myself and are yet too large to give away. So she put them on the shelf. Okay. Shelf is a piece of wood in the cupboard. So children, when she saw that wafer, what she said, she started telling that the cake which is seeming too small, but when the speaker eats them herself, but when she is want to give to other, it seems to her that it is too large. So she could not decide whether she should give that cake to him. That cake she was finally, children, she put it on the shelf. Stranger 11. Then good Saint Peter grew angry. And children, now he has lost his patience. Since long he was observing him, he was waiting, he was feeling dizzy, he could not say anything, but now children, he had lost his patience. He grew very angry, and he was hungry and fed. He was so hungry that children, he felt that he would faint, said Peter. And surely such a woman was enough to provoke a saint. Provoke means to make angry. Provoke means to make angry. Children, that lady, she had made Saint Peter very angry. He was so angry that he said, "You're far too selfish." Okay. That means, children, the person who only thinks for him. Selfish means the person who is mean, who only thinks for himself. You're far too selfish to dwell in a human form. Dwell means to live. So, children, what is the meaning of dwell? Dwell means to live. So, Saint Peter is telling that he is not fit to live in the human form. Okay, human form means form of a human. Shelter means place for protection. To have both food and shelter and fire to keep you warm. So children, what did the saint say? The saint was so angry that he started telling her that you are too selfish. Okay, and she is not fit to dwell in a human form. Fire kept the little woman warm. Children, it was, she told, your house is too cozy. You are enjoying the fire and good food here, which doesn't suit like a mean person like you. Stanza 13. Now you shall build as a bird do, and shall get you scanty food by boring and boring and boring all day in the hard dry wood. Now, children, scanty is small. Okay. Scanty is too small. And boring means to help whole, to make whole. Okay, to make whole. So what she is telling? She is telling, okay, she is telling that you shall, now he cursed her that she should become a bird, and you shall get your scanty food. And now children, it is the time, till now you were enjoying a good food here, and now you will be enjoying a very scanty, very less food you will be getting, and by making hole and hole into the woods, and all day you will be there in search of the food in the dry wood. So this was the curse. Okay, and she would get only very small food for her. Well, when he cursed her, the old woman, she took the form of the bird. Now let's see what happened. Then up she went through the chimney. She became the bird and she went up through the chimney, never speaking a word, and out of the top flew a woodpecker, for she was changed to bird. Chimney, children, is pipe through which a smoke or a stream is carried out. So what is the meaning of a chimney, children? In Lapland, children, the wood are the source for making food. So upon the wood there used to be a chimney. Okay, so he is telling St. Peter is telling now, he cursed her. He was so angry. He was not satisfied with that lady's behavior, so he cursed her and she became a bird. Now when she became a bird, she went up through the chimney. Through the chimney she went, never speaking a word. She did not spoke any word to any bird, and out of the top flew a woodpecker. Until people saw that from the top of the chimney a woodpecker is flying, but she was changed in bird. She was changed to a bird. Okay, so this was a curse which was given to by Saint Peter to that little woman. Immediately she was changed in the form of a bird. From human she became a woodpecker. Um, Stanza 15. She had a scarlet cap on her head, and that was left the same, and all the rest of her clothes were burned black as a coal in the flame. So scarlet is still in bright red. Okay. So she was putting a red cap on her head. So when she became woodpecker, children, there was a scarlet on her hand. Okay, you can see, children, now if you will see woodpecker, you can see a little um, what to say, reddish color is there on her head. Okay, what was left out when the lady changed into a bird? When the lady changed into a bird, children, what was left out? Um, her clothes were all black because she went through the chimney. So till her clothes become very black like a coal. And the lady scarlet cap was left as it when she changed into a bird. We can still see reddish color is there on the head of the woodpecker. Now last stanza, students, stanza 16. And every country school boy has seen her in the wood, where she lives in the tree till this very day, boring and boring for food. Okay, and now the Saint Peter left the place, but still the school, that bird, that lady in the form of a bird, she still is there in the jungle. People, the school boy, when they return, they can see her in the wood. And children, she lives in the tree till now. She is living in the tree, and when she is hungry, she started doing boring and boring, children. Okay, her she do boring for food in the trees. Her own nature of selfishness was the reason of her condition. If she would have given even that small piece of wafer to Saint Peter, he would not have changed her into the bird. So children, because she was very selfish. So what does the poet want to convey here? The poetess want to convey here. She want to convey to her children, whenever a person is in need, they never curse her. We should always help that person. Okay, whatever age, whatever condition the person is suffering from, whatever condition we are suffering from, children, we should not see that. We help the person. We should help the person. Okay, so the message of the poem is, what we should do, we should always help others. What we should do, we should always help others. Okay, now we will be doing the textbook question just now. Which countries do you think the Northland refers to? So I told you Northland is a country where we see very less sunlight. And what do we see there? We see it is a country in the north where days are short and nights are long. What did St. Peter ask for the old lady for? What was the lady reaction? St. Peter asked the old lady for a piece of cake. The lady behaved miserly and kept decreasing in the size of cake. At last, she did not give St. Peter anything to eat. How did he punish her? He cursed her and made her a woodpecker. So, how did he punish her? He cursed her and he made her a woodpecker. How does the woodpecker get her food? The woodpecker bores the hard and dry wood to get the food. Do you think that the old lady would have been so ungenerous if she had known who St. Peter really was? what would she have done? No. If she would have known that who St. Peter was, I don't think she would be so ungenerous, and she would have given him a large piece of cake to make him happy, with a greed to get a handsome return. But children, that cake, what she would be doing? She would be sharing to get her own benefit. Why? She knew that he is a Saint Peter, and if he will bless her, she can get a lot of things back in return. So she would have given a large piece of cake. Is this a true story? Which part of this poem do you feel is the most important? No, it is not a true story as it is told by the poetess also. It is not not a authentic story. It is a story, imaginative story. In fact, it is a legend. The third stanza of the poem is very important. What is a legend? Why is this poem called a legend? So children, a legend is a story from ancient time about people and events. The title of the poem tells it is a legend. The poet himself says that I don't believe it is true. Okay, so this was discussed by the poetess also. She told him that the story was not true. Write the story of a legend of the Northland in about 10 sentences. I think that you should do by yourself. Now, question number 2 is about the rhyming words like earth, hearth, done, one, lay away, under, over. So this is what you have to write it. Yeah, and that is very easy. See what are the rhyming words, and then according to that you have to write it. So children, textual question we have done. Now we are going to do some additional question from the sample paper. So my first question is, why was St. Peter tired and hungry? So St. Peter was a holy man. He used to preach people. For his preaching, he often made a long journey. During the course of his journey, sometimes he did not take food and water. Besides, he had to observe fast also. Fast and journey were the essential part of his life, as he was the messenger of God, and that day he was very tired and hungry. What happened to the cake every time when the old lady tried to bake it? Every time when the old lady tried to bake the cake, she had no desire to share it with St. Peter, because she felt or it seems to her that the size of the cake is too large to be given away to him. So what happened to the cake every time when the old lady tried to bake it? So once St. Peter was tired and hungry, he arrived at her cottage to get something to eat. The old lady tried again and again to bake the cake into a small size, okay, for St. Peter, but each time the size of the cake always appeared bigger and bigger to her, and the lady was even unable to give this cake to the St. Peter when she baked a very small cake like a wafer. That also she could not give away. What happened to the old lady when St. Peter cursed her? St. Peter became angry at her greed because she did not give a piece of cake to St. Peter to satisfy his hunger. When he cursed the lady, she turned into a bird. She flew through the chimney. Finally, she became a woodpecker. She wore a red cap and her body was black. Besides, she was bound to live in the forest with scanty food. Okay. Now children, moral based question can also come from here, like what moral lesson do you get from this poem? Okay. So the poem teaches us that true happiness lies in sharing the thing, and we must always help the people if they are in need. If we are greedy, we cannot give happiness in our life. On the other hand, our charitable nature makes us think about pains and sorrows suffered by the other people. The charitable people have many friends and they are always connected with one another with a strong bond of sentiments. But the greedy people have hardly any friends and they often live alone in the world. So, children, one question you can also is a moral based question like how is true satisfaction is spoiled by greed? So true satisfaction lies in sharing things with others. Peace and satisfaction are the two sides of a coin, and that is if there is a satisfaction in our life, peace is bound to come to our life. And then you can give example from the story. Okay, so children, in this way all the important question we have discussed. Okay, then in the long question, this type of question can also come. Why was Saint Peter forced to curse the greedy little woman? Do you justify the action of Saint Peter? So we can say yes, we can justify the action of her uh, Peter, okay, in cursing her. She had deprived a tired and hungry saint even from a small piece of cake. She was rightly punished for her greed. So children, with this I conclude my video here. Thank you and have a nice day. And once again, I wish you all a very happy new year.